Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to do today's video because I've just been really wanting to talk about eyeshadow palettes for a while. I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm getting back into my eyeshadow palette phase because I kind of went through a point in time where all I wanted to buy was eyeshadow palettes. Kind of came back off of that, started buying a lot of cheek products, and now I'm getting the itch for eyeshadow palettes again, so I figured I would channel that itch into talking about them instead of spending all my money on them. And just in time, Samantha March, who, if you're not following already, you absolutely should be. I love her channel. She has put up a series over the last couple years, I think, of different eyeshadow palette tags where she asks a bunch of questions and you pick a palette to answer those questions. And she just recently posted a new version of that eyeshadow palette tag. So I figured this would be the perfect time to talk about that. Quick correction. This actually was not created by Samantha March. She does create a lot of eyeshadow palette tags. This one was not created by her. This one was created by Chic Geek Makeup. I will also have the link to her video linked in the description as well as Samantha's video. So do go check out the original if you're interested as well. I will leave her original video in the description down below, as well as all of the questions so that you can leave your answers in the comments or make a video of your own. So with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the new tag. Actually, before we get into that, I just wanted to let anybody know who is interested in kind of how my med school experience is going, that I got my score back for that really, really big test I was taking, and I did far and away better than I could have ever imagined. I am literally beyond thrilled, and it took such a huge weight off my shoulders to know that I have that solid and good to go for application season. So I feel so much better, so much less stressed, and I really appreciate everybody who wished me luck because it really paid off. So thank you guys, and now let's go ahead and get right into the video. I think this one might have the most creative questions out of all of the ones she's done so far, so I'm excited. Let's get into it. The first question is a palette you wore to a special occasion. So I haven't been to any special occasions in quite some time, just because med school has kind of monopolized my life for the last at least 6 months, but I have a palette that I pull out for special occasions fairly frequently, and I think the last time I went to a special occasion was my birthday, and I wore this. So I do pull this out for special occasions fairly regularly. This is the Anastasia and Jackie Aina collab palette. I'm going to try not to harp on this because you can't get it anymore, which is such a shame because this is, in my opinion, the best palette ABH has ever done. Absolutely gorgeous color story. These formulas are insane. I absolutely love every single look I put together with this palette. I always want to pull out this shade Sponsored. You can see I have a decent sized dip going in it because I never stop wearing it. And it goes with so many of these other shades. It goes with these pinks and purples really well too. I love doing those together. I just think it's such an interesting look. I like wearing it out. And I always pull for this or my Pat McGrath Mothership 5 for special occasions. So I decided to spare you me talking about a Mothership palette again. So for this one, I'm going with the Jackie Aina palette. Next, a palette you love, but it's repetitive. I didn't actually want to admit this to myself because I love this palette so much and I do not regret having it, but let's be so for real. The Natasha Denona Bronze palette is super repetitive. I love warm tones though. I love warm tone neutrals, so I am gonna use it and I'm gonna use every shade in here, but let's be honest with ourselves, most of those shimmers are gonna look exactly the same on the eyes. I mean, like, look, I'm just gonna pick some up. Yeah, you know, like, you can tell that they're different if you squint, but, I mean, when you put those on your eyes, they're gonna look the same. So, is it repetitive? Yes. Is it gorgeous? Yes. And if you're a warm tone girly, I still think it's worth having. So, next is a palette that you got your money's worth out of. So I have a huge eyeshadow palette collection, and some of them were very expensive. So like realistically speaking, am I ever going to get $100 worth of use out of a Pat McGrath palette? Probably not, unless I use it like every day for years and years. So mainly I was looking at my drugstore palettes. There's one that stood out to me as one that I have used such an unbelievable number of times that not only have I gotten my money's worth out of it, I might actually buy another one because I would get my money's worth out of that too. This is the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette. As you can see, she has been very well loved, very used and abused. And it's just a perfect neutral palette. It's a literally perfect neutral palette. It has these cool tones, it has these warmer tones. You can do like a smokier look, you can go a little lighter, softer, sparkly. There's so many different looks you can get out of just these 9 neutral shades, and I take this everywhere with me. That's why I'm thinking about buying a new one, because this shade down here, Da Coco, keeps popping out of its pan and making a mess everywhere. So I am considering just repurchasing this, especially since ColourPop runs sales all the time where their 9-pan palettes are like $9. I think I spent $12 on this originally. Now I think they're up to $14 regular price. Anywhere between $9 and $14, I would still be getting my money's worth out of this palette. I take this everywhere with me. I love it. The formulas are foolproof, and yeah, so not only have I gotten my money's worth out of it, it's so good that I'm considering putting the money into it again. So the next question is a palette that is an amazing deal. And here's the thing. I feel like I want to talk about a set of palettes that I have that I purchased for an amazing deal. I don't know if I would say that the original price was an amazing deal, but you can't even get them at the original price anymore, but you can get them at TJ Maxx and Marshalls, which is why I'm telling you that it's an amazing deal. Okay, so listen, these BH Cosmetics, like 16-pan square palettes, number one, the quality is insane. These are like high-end quality palettes. The mattes, the shimmers, everything is high-end quality, number one. Number two, original price, these were ranging somewhere between like $16 and $18, which I think would be worth it, but not like an incredible deal in my opinion. At TJ Maxx and Marshalls right now, these are running from like $5 to $8. That's insane. That's crazy. The quality of these for that price is like run, do not walk. And the reason I don't feel bad bringing these up, even though they're not technically available at BH or Ulta anymore, is because every single TJ Maxx and Marshalls I've walked into in the last like couple of years has had at least one of these palettes. So you can definitely still get your hands on them at those stores. I'm going to go ahead and go through the ones that I have quickly. I would highly recommend any of these to you if the color story is your jam. And if you see one in either of these palette series that you like the color story of, pick it up. It's worth it, I promise you. So I have Smitten in Switzerland, which is from the Travel series. Very beautiful, like jewel-toned, cool, rich vibes. I have Lost in Los Angeles, also the Travel series, which is this gorgeous, like pastel, almost rainbow palette. Gorgeous. Absolutely love that one. Just dug my finger in it. That's lovely. Then I have the Brunch series, which is my favorite. First, I have the Mimosa palette, which is this gorgeous like pink, yellow, orange, warm tone moment. I have the Avocado Toast palette, which is my favorite out of all of these. It is this beautiful green, rich, delicious palette, but it also has a bunch of neutral options as well. I'm actually wearing this palette on my eyes right now. I just used all the neutral shades and it works so well. So even if you're a little bit afraid of green, I still highly recommend this palette because the neutrals make the greens much more approachable. And then finally, I have the Blueberry Muffin palette, which is this gorgeous, like cool toned, all blue and gray and smoky vibes kind of look. So these are such beautiful palettes. The formulas are phenomenal. And for that price, I'm telling you, run, don't walk. Next question is a quad you wish was larger. I feel like this is not going to be a surprise to anybody who has heard me talk about these before, but e.l.f. bite-sized palette, specifically Cream and Sugar. This is my favorite of the bite-sized palettes, and I love these. I love that they're 4 shades. I love that they're this small. Them being this compact is very great. However, can you imagine if they expanded this with this exact formula out into like a 9-pan or a 12-pan palette, right? So I feel like this is a really good set of options, but it's kind of limiting, right? So we have this really, really light like inner corner shimmer shade and this darker but not super dark like bronzy gold shade. These shimmers are so good. I want a bunch more tones to go with this neutral vibe, right? I want like a deeper, richer, bronzy brown. I want like a true gold. I want like a taupier option, like more shimmers in this exact formula because this formula is crazy metallic, crazy shiny, so pretty. Like, look at that. I just want every neutral tone in that formula, right? And then these mattes as well, right? So you have like this very light option and this very deep option, which is great because you can mix these together and get like a bunch of different neutral tones in between. But it would be a lot easier if I just had the neutral tones in between in this matte formula in more pans, right? Also, I feel like when you mix these together, sometimes it turns a little bit grayish and not quite so true brown. And this is kind of warm for a shimmer, so I feel like getting kind of a cool toned matte shade to go with this can be a little bit difficult. So if I had some warmer tone mattes, that would be a lot easier to work with. So love this palette. If you're gonna narrow a neutral palette down to 4 tones, this is a great one. But if we expanded it, it would be even cooler, even better, even more awesome. So you're welcome for the free idea, Elf. Get on that. So next question is a palette where you love the quality but hate the packaging. So the thing is, this is like partially my fault, but also not. This is the LA Girl Pro Artistry palette, and it's like fully broken in half, which is really annoying. And yeah, I did drop it, but I didn't drop it that far. Like, it wasn't from standing height to the floor. It was like where I was standing at my sink to the sink. And I just feel like it breaking fully in half dropped from that height is like kind of silly. However, you can pry it out of my cold dead hands anyway, because this is so good. The quality is insanity. LA Girl palettes in general, seriously, if you see one that you like the color story of, just do it. Every one that I have tried has quality that's as good as this one. I picked this one mainly because it's my favorite and also because the packaging is jacked up. But yes, these matte shades, these neutrals right here, I wish I had these in every single neutral palette because they are so good, so creamy, so buttery, so easy to use. These shimmers are ridiculously textured and shiny and metallic. This silver, I literally won't shut up about. It is so delicious and chunky. If you aren't into chunky shimmers, this may not be your jam, this formula in general. But for me, I love that. So I feel like it makes it so much more reflective. And anyway, I'm going to shut up because you can't get this exact one anymore anyway. But LA Girl in general, the packaging does leave something to be desired, but the quality is literally high end. It's so good. So I would recommend anyway. Hey y'all, Editing Maddie here. If you saw on my community tab, my computer has been really jerking me around as far as filming videos and not saving them. And it happened again with 2 of the clips from this video. So I'm just going to re-record them right now because I don't want to set all my setup back up again and I have no more daylight. So the next question is a really, really fun one, and it's basically show your dream palette made out of single eyeshadows. So I kind of collect single shadows. I mostly collect the ones that are in compacts, like the ColourPop Super Shock shadows and stuff like that. But I do have some magnetic singles, and so I put together a little palette that I think kind of demonstrates what I like in my taste in eyeshadow right now. So it looks like this. And fortunately, the part that got cut out was the part where I talk about the mattes, and that's kind of like the boring part. But I have this lighter matte, this kind of mid-tone brown, and this darker brown. These are all from Sydney Grace. They're the shades Iced Mocha, Puppy, and Dark Chocolate. They basically just make like a decent gradient of pretty true neutral browns. I've been more into like true neutrals than anything super warm or super cool lately, so I wanted to go in that kind of vein. If this was an ideal palette, it would have a 4th matte shade that's kind of like my skin tone. So something like Wet n Wild's Brulee. I've bought like 5 of these. They're like 99 cents and it's a great formula. It blends out edges really, really well, helps blend shadows together super well. So if I could have any shadow in that spot, it would be Wet n Wild's Brulee. So those are the mattes in the palette. And now back to previous me to talk about shimmers. So then, of course, we get to what I consider the fun part, which is the shimmers. So I wanted to have options that kind of go day to night, every day to glam, lots of different options, but keeping it small and curated because that's just kind of what I prefer lately. So in any ideal palette for me, I would need an inner corner highlight shade. So I picked this from Luxie Beauty. It's just a simple, really wet looking ivory champagne kind of metallic color. And it's called Glazed and Confused. It's a really, really great like workhorse shade in my singles. Lately, I've been into glitter toppers, glitter toppers, glitter toppers. I love putting glitter over every single look, whether it's just like browns in the crease or a metallic on the lid. I want to cover it in glitter. So this is Nabla's Water Dream. It is similar to a lot of other shades that I have in my collection that do the same thing, like ColourPop Ritz and things like that. So I had to include that because look how beautiful that is. It's just such fine glitter particles, and you can top it over almost any other shades, and it just adds that beautiful reflective quality that I have been obsessed with lately. So after those, we kind of get into the more like impactful, fun shimmers. I wanted to have options, like I said, that would transition well between glam and everyday, and this is what I came up with. So this is JD Glow's Unexpected. These formulas are insane and beautiful and so impactful. This is their Galaxy Shadow. And I feel like this transitions well because if you look at it like this, it's very, very shiny, number one. I love things that are very, very shiny. And if you look at it like this, the base is fairly dark, but the glitters in it are like blue, green, gold, even purple. Like from this angle, I can see purple. It has such multidimensional shimmers, and it's just such a gorgeous look. But if you wear it like this with a very thick layer and then you can really see that dark base, I feel like it's a good like nighttime glam option. But if you kind of blend it out over the lid or you do a really thin layer, you kind of lose the depth of that base. It gets a little bit lighter brown, but you still have that really intense, shiny, glittery, fun look. And I feel like this would be more appropriate for like a daytime look for me. Obviously, you can wear whatever you want at any time of day you want. I'm just thinking what I tend to prefer to do. So that would be such a useful addition to my perfect palette. And then finally, I felt like I just wanted like a true metallic shimmer option, one that's not quite so sparkly and crazy. But you could make sparkly by topping it with Nabla's Water Dream, right? So it's this shade right here. This is also from Luxie Beauty. It's the shade Latte. It is basically just a really simple taupey brown metallic, you know? Like it doesn't really have a bunch of glitter in it. It doesn't really have any kind of shift or duochrominess or anything. So I feel like it works well as a simple everyday shade, but you could also really build up like a dark crease and make it almost like a smoky eye, put glitter on top of this. You know, there's a lot of different directions you could take it. So I do feel like this is my ideal palette for what I'm into right now. It's very small and simple. It can go really light, really dark, really glam, really chill. I feel like it's very versatile, and that's kind of what I prefer right now. I don't know, you know, obviously imagine my missing matte shade right here. If it was available at Sephora, I would buy it, but let me know what you think. Next up, palettes you like to combine. So this was actually fairly easy for me. I have a couple of really, really beautiful all matte palettes that I love to combine with a really, really beautiful all shimmer palette. So they work perfectly together. These are from Dose of Colors. They are still available on the Dose of Colors website. They just have new packaging now. This is Baked Browns, all matte, and this is Sassy Siennas. Baked Browns is my favorite just because it leans a little more true neutral. You can get some warmth out of it if you want to, and this one is much more like vibrant corally warm. And I would combine those two palettes with the Flower Beauty Desert Lights palette. Flower Beauty also makes Jungle Lights, which is a little bit more like grungy and colorful. This is more my jam with the neutrals and the pinky tones, and I feel like it pairs perfectly with these two matte color stories. So, I mean, it would be super easy to throw a look together with these. Say I grab the shade Soul, for example. This is a very warm-toned metallic gold, and it's so high quality. Look at that. Look how shiny. And it would work beautifully with either of these palettes, but just say, for example, I grab Baked Browns, I can throw a really easy look together. I can grab this as a transition shade or this, pop one of these two in the crease, and you're done. It would also look beautiful with Sassy Siennas, though, because it's a warmer tone. That would be super fun as like a summertime look, and that would work with really any of the shimmers in this palette. So these two together throw together a very, very quick and absolutely stunning high-end quality look. And I love combining them. So easy answer to that question. Editing Maddie again. The other question that got cut out is, what is a large palette that you wish was smaller? I love ColourPop's IP collabs. I love a bunch of the stuff that they've collabed with. Star Wars, Avatar The Last Airbender, Sailor Moon, all of that. Those tend to be palettes that are between 9 and at most 15 pans. Which is why it kind of surprised me when they put out the Harry Potter collab. It is 24 pans, and they're big pans. So this just feels like really unnecessarily big. And it kind of puts me off of using it. Like, I'm not anti-big palettes, but usually these days I prefer something easy, streamlined, simple. And while I appreciate that they wanted to give solid representation to all of the different house colors, I feel like Avatar The Last Airbender palette had representation for all of the elements in only 12 shades, you know? So I feel like what would have made this perfect is if it was maybe like 15 pans like the Star Wars palette. I feel like that was a really good size. So I love this palette, but I feel like we could have made it a little smaller. So final question in this tag is a palette you wish had a matching face palette. Here's the thing with this question. I don't use my face palettes nearly often enough, and I don't buy face palettes very often because I know that I don't use them very often. So I was kind of like, I don't really feel like most of my palettes need a matching face palette. However, I recently picked up a palette from Glamlight at TJ Maxx because I've been dying to try their formula, and it has been very on topic that I picked this up at the time that I did. This is the Barbie collab with Glamlight. I did use this and wear this to the Barbie movie. Of course, I used some of these beautiful hot pinks and this bright pink shimmer. The quality of these is phenomenal. I am so impressed, blown away. I have to get my hands on more Glamlight. Aside from that, though, getting back to the question, because it is Barbie themed, and I picked up a Barbie themed lip kit at the same time that I picked this up, I just think it would be so fun if they had included a face palette in this collection. I think it would have been so cute if it had like a coral pink blush and like a bright Barbie pink, like cool tone pink blush, and then like a highlighter that's maybe gold or ivory or something super, super shiny and glittery, you know? I think it would have been so on theme, and I don't know. I think that if I had a palette in my collection that would be really, really fun to have a face palette with, it would be this. Because then you could have like a whole Barbie look, you know, like the lip kit and the eyeshadow palette and the face palette. I don't know. Like, it's not even really anything to do with the color story. It's the theme, you know, because, I mean, a face palette is a face palette. There are only so many shades of like blush, bronzers, and highlighters. But the theming, it would be so fun. Glamlight. Missed opportunity. Barbie Part 2, face palette. I got good ideas up here, trust me. So that's it for this video, you guys. This was what I believe Samantha is calling the eyeshadow palette tag 5000. It's not quite the 5,000th one, but there have been quite a few of them. So I loved this one. I thought it was so creative. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. Go check out Samantha's original video. It is linked in the description. Also in the description is the list of questions that I answered in this video. Feel free to leave me a comment answering a few or all of those questions. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of these. I love hearing you guys' thoughts and your recommendations on all things eyeshadow palettes. So do let me know some of your answers down below. If you want to see more from me, please feel free to hit subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you. And until the next one, bye you guys.